Unofficial commentators back at it again, baby. Fantasy football has officially started. NFL has officially started. And this is officially the hangover episode because I got drunk for nothing last night watching the goddamn Raiders suck so much. Oh, my God. And because of that, I'm hungover, but it is what it is. JJ98, what's up with you, man, on the other side? The host, what's up, bro?
I am not sorry for interrupting everyone's scheduled YouTube rabbit holing, but here to give you some updates on the League of Haters 2018. So, yeah, man, we're going to keep it short and sweet today, jump right into material. I have our awards. This is one of the segments that we missed. It's pretty easy for people in the league to count this up themselves, but I guess they like being recognized on air, so let's do it. First of all, the highest scorer, Mr. Keko Jones. That's the team that belongs to Ali, scored 153-plus points. Just narrowly beat out Omar, as a matter of fact. And, yeah, for that matter, the lowest scorer was Chef Reyes and the motherfucking friend zone. No, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. I apologize.
You stupid.
That was actually Ivan with the I Don't Know team. Scored 80.74 points. That was pathetic. Did he even start a lineup there? What the hell happened? Your best player is Leonard Fournette. I understand he gets injured, but Jesus, 80 points is miserable. The biggest blowout belongs to my team, the Luck Dynasty. Luck Dynasty overcame Big Blue legend Daryl's by a margin of 38.2 points. And the Lucky Award, an award we introduced last week, went to Friend Zone.
It's your lucky day, cock.
The lowest score, which is I Don't Know. He didn't even score 100 points this week. Friend Zone put up a score that is relative to a team playing during a bye week. And, yeah, that's pretty much all I can say about that. If he had played anybody else on this league, he would have lost. But he just happened to match up with the lowest, the absolute most pathetic player this week. The best player in fantasy, meaning the most productive player in fantasy, was actually Ryan Fitzmagic, but nobody owns him.
Bruh.
So go figure, he doesn't go to any team. So then
Probably,
the second highest producer.
Probably some motherfucker on DraftKings owns Ryan Fitzpatrick on one of those ghost accounts that they put in there.
Maybe not. One of those randomized teams that you make.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, then the highest scoring actual roster player would be Tyreek Hill, which belongs to the Luck Dynasty. Kudos to me again. I actually saw that as a bit of a stretch. I wasn't really sure about Tyreek Hill and his new quarterback, but man, that's a gamble that paid off big for me.
Yeah, man. Patrick Mahomes looked really good. I'd say he looked the best out of all the first-year starters, man. Obviously, I got to say, you mentioned, Ivan, that you didn't know what happened, lowest scorer. I have to mention that he texted me right after the auto draft that he did that he was super excited for his team and that the auto draft is going to get him money this year. So look at that. Beautiful.
I mean, unless he's getting paid to lose pathetically, I don't know how he's going to make money this year.
And he was the only one that auto drafted out of all 14 of us, if I'm not mistaken.
Tisk. Well, Cousin Juan auto drafted as well.
Yeah.
Apparently some issue there. But he did phenomenal. Jesus. That was a great score by Cousin Juan last week.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, let's go right to the matchups, man. What do we got?
All right, so in week 2, speaking of Cousin Juan, the first matchup we're going to talk about is So Loyal. They're going to play against the Gotham City Rogues. Over this past year, there's been a rivalry brewing between the co-owner, Guica, and Dago. Dago seems to think that he owns this matchup and that he owns that team. How do you see it going for the Gotham City Rogues?
Rivalry week, man. And, like you said, I like Mitch Trubisky. He looked a lot better than I expected him to look against the Green Bay Packers. Seattle is not as good as they were before, so I like him. Melvin Gordon against Buffalo, that's money right there, bro. Buffalo is pretty much probably one of the worst football teams that we've seen in the past decade.
You asked me that question, and I called it, man. They are the worst team in football.
Yeah, and their coach is even worse. I have no idea how you as an owner do not fire your coach after he starts Nathan Peterman. That was garbage. I mean, didn't he learn last year? But whatever, man. I really like what I'm seeing here for Gotham City Rogues. Those are some really good matchups. Marvin Jones versus San Francisco. Richard Sherman got cooked last week. Dalvin Cook versus Green Bay. Again, I like that matchup as well. Minnesota's looking like probably one of the best, if not the best, teams in the NFC, man. So it's looking good for Gotham City Rogues this week.
Well, Solo is going to try to prove that he's still the action boss. Phillip Rivers, hell of a game, even in a loss last week. DeAndre Hopkins is the man. Absolute crazy catch radius. Deshaun Watson shook off that rust. I expect him to get a win over Tennessee. AJ Green versus Baltimore. That's kind of a tough matchup. Baltimore is a pretty stout defense. Jay Ajayi and Rex Burkhead, I have no real confidence there. T.Y. Hilton, he's looking, kind of like he got his groove back. This is going to be a tight one, actually. But in the end, I think it's going to be receivers versus running backs kind of situation. And as surprising as it's going to be, I'm going to go with receivers on this. I'm going to pick Soloyo to win this game.
Well, I already put my pick in, man, for Gotham City Rogues, man. I just think his running backs should carry him over the other wide receivers in Soloyo, man. So there we go. We got different picks. I already put my pick in for that one, man.
Fantastic. All right. Well, in a matchup of teams that really need help with their fantasy names, we got I Don't Know, which is Ivan's pathetic team, going up against Don't Be a Girly Man. I feel like there was a team already called Girly Man in the past. I don't know, Don. You get a little bit more creative with that one. You get the first pick overall, and the best you can do is Don't Be a Girly Man. Besides having a shitty team name, what do you think of Don't Be a Girly Man, Paki?
Oh, my God. Oh, man. I mean, Todd Gurley is a monster, man. And even in a relatively quiet game against the Raiders, Todd Gurley still put up crazy fantasy numbers. And I say quiet game because although he racked up the stats, I saw the whole game, he didn't have those game-breaking plays that he normally has. So I expect him to have him this week. It's unfortunate that Don't Be a Girly Man lost Delaney Walker, man. That was a pretty bad injury. So you never want to see a football player get hurt like that. That really sucks, bro. He dislocated his ankle and broke his leg, one of those really freak accidents. So let's see how he replaces that tight end on the waiver wire. Let's see what he got on his bench. Austin Seferian-Jenkins might be able to fill in, but I'm not sold on that. So let's see what he can pick up, man. He's going to need some help on that.
He also lost a defensive player, Deion Jones of the Atlanta Falcons. He's going on IR. He's going to need some surgery. On the other side, Matthew Stafford did not have a great outing against the Jets. Who knew the Jets were going to be so good, especially on defense? But he should bounce back against San Francisco. I feel like San Francisco as a team, they just invested so much in Jimmy G that they had to compromise in other places. And, defense might be one of those places where they compromise. Keenan Allen should have a great game against the pathetic Buffalo. We mentioned him before. Amari Cooper, I have no hopes here. The only good thing I can say about Amari Cooper is, at least they traded away the star corners over there, but he still has to kind of deal with Chris Harris in Denver, so I'm not really sure. Leonard Fournette coming back from injury. Who knows if he makes it back? I mean, this team on paper looks pretty good. I don't understand how the hell you scored so pathetically. That being said, I think there's going to be a bounce back this week. I'm going to go with I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Said he had a bomb team. Leonard Fournette is going to hurt him, but I'm going to go with Don't Be a Girly Man because I think that he could get some tight ends out of there. You got Drew Brees in there against Cleveland as well. By the way, Cleveland looked better than a lot of people expected, but Drew Brees seemed to give some pretty good fantasy numbers. So my pick is in. Don't Be a Girly Man. I agree. That name is kind of iffy though.
Weak. All right. The previously FIBA, now actually FUBA, fuck you, Ben Affleck, is going to be playing against Hunt for the Wilder Cup. That's a team owned by Victor. Victor didn't have the most auspicious of starts, and Gary's doing that dumb thing where he keeps everyone on the bench again. So ideally, what would you think about Hunt for the Wilder Cup, Paki?
Well, Gary just making it hard for us, man. Freaking Gary, man. But yeah, Hunt for the Wilder Cup. By the way, that's Victor or Paki or whatever the fuck it is. He's the one that I beat last week. So good stuff. Cooper Kupp, man. I think Cooper Kupp was extremely underrated in fantasy drafts. I picked him up in a couple of my leagues. I liked what he did versus the Raiders. He's gonna get targets, man. He is the slot receiver in a quick passing offense. So Regardless of Brandon Cooks and all that, he's going to keep getting targets. And Michael Thomas, my God, is this guy a beast or what? Dude, killed it last week. And now versus Cleveland, Denzel Ward, Cleveland's rookie cornerback, looked really freaking good. First-round pick last year, one of the 2 first-round picks. Let's see how he matches up with Michael Thomas. And, of course, you got Tom Brady versus Jacksonville. I don't expect him to get many points from there. So, luckily, he has Kareem Hunt that will also help him recover some points on that aspect. So, interesting team. I don't like the fact that he's using a tight end as a flex. But this guy changes his lineup as well as Gary all the time. So he's probably going to put in there either Tyreek Cohen or maybe Will Fuller, I'd say, because he also got Greg Olsen, and Greg Olsen's out as well.
Yeah, Tyreek Cohen was actually one of the mistakes that he made last week. I think he would have had a better outing had he gone with Adrian Peterson. I understand the hesitance there in starting Peterson, given what he's done recently, but Adrian Peterson is still a really good football player, and he had the opportunity. He was the number 1 guy in Washington. For better or worse, I would have gone with the starter over Cohen any day. I mean, Jordan Howard is still going to get the bulk load of carries over in Chicago, so that is what I would have said to that extent. Not really sure I understand that decision, but, I guess it was kind of a feeling out process. Over on Gary's side, there's a couple of no-brainers. You're starting McCaffrey, you're starting Henry. They have decent but not great matchups. I like the stack that he has there. Jared Goff, Brandon Cooks, and Robert Woods, all out of the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams just shit-pumped the Raiders yesterday, and for that fact, Arizona looked a lot worse than the Raiders, if you can possibly believe that. So that should, factor in major fantasy points. Sonny Michel, still questionable, I don't know, but he has a little less competition on that end, given the fact that they lost Jeremy Hill for the year to a torn ACL. Yeah, that's
Sonny Mitchell's Gary's favorite pick, by the way.
Yep.
Ha ha, very funny, motherfucker.
You got Case Keenum there. I don't really agree with carrying 2 quarterbacks. Like, what the hell? Just you're killing a roster spot there. You're never going to start both of them. So why carry that? Just leave them on waivers and wait for a bye week. But that's neither here nor there. In this particular matchup, I think the stack of LA Rams going up against how putrid and how really terrible Arizona looked, I think I'm going to go with Fuba to win this one.
Yeah, man, I like him too. So we're going to share a pick on this one because I think he's just more talented. And on Hunt for the Wilder Cup side, I mean, you mentioned the Adrian Peterson thing. I think the smart thing would be to start him and Tyreek Cohen and Kareem Hunt. So the trick is in the flex. So, yeah, man, interesting that one has Gronkowski and the other one has Tom Brady. By the way, Jay, I wanted to ask you, what's the origin of this damn rivalry? I just don't get it. I can't wrap my head. Is there a rivalry at all here? Are they just filler rivalries? What is this?
He called them out, and then it just so happened he called them out last year. I'm sorry, and I forgot who won that. I think it might have been Victor, but he said that regardless of the fact, Gary was a great rival. He enjoyed it. They were throwing some barbs at each other back and forth, and after that, it just turned out that Victor was picking 13 and Gary 14. So I heard of a couple of vultured picks in both directions, so I'm sure that there's a little bit of animosity. They want to clear the air with this matchup, and that's pretty much it. It's just you were called out, so now defend your honor.
All right. So what do we got for the next matchup, week 2?
The next matchup, we got some cousins battling it out. Mr. Kiko Jones, the highest scorer of the week, against the appropriately named Joel Vasquez's team.
You're a freaking genius,
Nice,
you idiot!
I love the creativity on that name.
Yeah. So congratulations to the owner of Mr. Kiko Jones. Not only were you the highest scorer in fantasy last week, I heard you open up a new business. So everybody head on over to Adeli's food truck. I don't have many details. Maybe Paki does. But support people that support our league. So go visit, get your grub on, and get your foods. And also get some fantasy advice, I guess. He'll be playing the unofficial commentators in the background while you eat some burgers.
Yeah, I'm not in the DR anymore, so I don't have all the details. But I am going to look up the Instagram account, and I'll give him a shout-out. I know it's called Gordo, so
We will do this.
Chubby. I'm looking for it right now. Gordos RD, GORDOS RD. That's the Instagram account. Go ahead and follow it, fellas. We made Food Inc. out of this podcast. We made him instant famous. So Now we're going with another chef to make him Mr. Famous. But yeah, man, the Cousin Bowl, man. The Cousin Bowl. Who do you want me to talk about here in the Cousin Bowl again?
Talk
Who should
about
I
the leading
go
scorer,
with?
Keko Jones.
I hate both of these names, by the way, man.
You know what? I'm going to call an audible. Talk about Joel Vasquez's team, since he's your longtime rival and he seems to have your number. He always whipped your ass.
Fuck that guy, man. He has Deshaun Watson. He looked pretty bad. He'll probably do better someday after Joel Vasquez cuts him out of his team. Mike Evans looked like a beast, but he is going to play Philadelphia, so hopefully he'll have a bad week as well. And every other player on Joel Vasquez's team, there's no way I can wish him any good luck. So I'm just going to pick Ali right off the bat. I still feel a little bit of a rivalry versus Joel Vasquez, even though he's not my rival anymore. So fuck it. I'm just picking Mr. Keko Jones. I'm not even going to pick Joel Vasquez. Good riddance. I don't care. I don't care, man. You don't deserve my analysis, bro.
Well now. All right, well, we saw magic happen when Aaron Rodgers left early in the Sunday Night Football game, but returned for the second half, only to tear the beating hearts out of the chest of the Chicago Bears and all of their fan base. You know that you got points guaranteed when you have Aaron Rodgers. Sterling Shepard didn't figure much in the offense for the Giants. I don't know how I feel about him being one of your starting receivers. Same goes for John Brown. These receivers are kind of weak. I understand.
Can I make a parenthesis about Sterling Shepard, though? Sterling Shepard? On that massive, awesome run by Saquon Barkley, he had a fucking hell of a block. So as long as he keeps blocking, he'll stay on the field. Whether he gets balls thrown his way, I don't know, because Eli Manning sucks. But I just wanted to point that out. That was pretty good blocking. I like blocking.
We should incorporate blocking points for wide receivers, I guess. So, yeah, you have like some, bottom of the depth chart receivers in Shepard and Brown. I'm not really sure. You make up for it in the outstanding play of Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara was a huge player for New Orleans last Sunday. Despite their best effort, New Orleans came up short against Fitzmagic. I don't see it slowing down for Alvin Kamara. I had the chance to pick Kamara. I went with Saquon Barkley. I don't regret it. But, man, Kamara looks like a stud. Chris Thompson for Washington was supposed to be the starter. And, I don't know, he kind of fell off towards the end. And then Adrian Peterson I feel like Chris Thompson got a lot of runs, but Adrian Peterson scored the most fantasy points. So keep your eye on that. Jimmy Graham still breaking into the offense. Marshawn Lynch is, he's beast mode. But it'll take him a while to get back to midseason form. Khalil Mack probably won't repeat the game that he had last week, and that's a large reason why Keko Jones had the result, the outcome that he had.
Yeah.
A lot of these performances I see as unrepeatable. Outside of Aaron Rodgers and Alvin Kamara, there's a lot of kind of middle of the pack players that I don't think can, continuously repeat the amount of output that they had. Honestly, I would start Evan Ingram. They are throwing him the ball a lot more than they are with Jimmy Graham. He's more part of the offense, whether he scores the fantasy points or not. He caught some amazing balls on Sunday that got called back due to penalties. God damn you, Eric Flowers. But if you want my opinion, I would start Ingram over Jimmy Graham. That's the only thing I really have to say about that.
How many balls did you catch on Sunday, Jay?
You have John Ross in your bench as well as Dede Westbrook. These are players that probably get more burn than John Brown. Like, I don't understand why you're not using one of those guys. If your roster stays like this Sunday or even Thursday when the games start, I don't think you're going to win. So I'm going with Joel Vasquez's team. If this is the team that they're putting out there, Vasquez wins this one.
Yeah, like I said, I'm going with Ali. The only thing I will say about Vasquez, though, the only positive thing I will say is that he did pretty well on drafting Le'Veon Bell and having James Conner as the backup. So no harm, no foul for him.
Well, that's the beauty. That's the beauty of us drafting as late as we did. We knew what was going to happen with Le'Veon Bell. A lot of teams drafted really, really early and probably didn't handcuff Le'Veon Bell. Now they got stuck with Bell and trying to plug in that hole until Bell decides to return, if he even decides to return. So, yeah, that was some savvy drafting by Joel Vasquez's team. All right.
Yep, for sure.
My matchup now, Luck Dynasty is going to play against Juju Jones. Tell me all the reasons why I'm going to win this week.
All the reasons why you will win this week. Well, first of all, congratulations on picking Andrew Luck. I'm one of the few guys in this group that actually supports Andrew Luck, and I think he looked pretty good. Do you see the difference a quarterback makes? I mean, the Colts, they looked like a good team with Andrew Luck, even though they have a horrible roster.
I don't love him, but I think I picked him in the 9th round. I waited so long that it was just like, man, if he's still there, why not take him? I did have a chance to pick Mahomes though, and in the end, he got taken. And then I said, all right, number 9, I'm gonna settle for Luck. But he's the only bright spot on that team, so I knew he was gonna get me fantasy points.
Well, I'll tell you this. I know Juju Jones has a good team, and he puts everything on his bench to make it hard for us. But I really like your team this week because Saquon Barkley, man, proved to be the real deal, man. He was making runs out of nowhere. And you have Tyreek Hill, who is probably the most exciting player in the NFL after Antonio Brown right now. I think he's underrated in fantasy aspects because he's literally a photocopy of Antonio Brown. You could switch their uniforms and you wouldn't tell they're different players. That is freaking amazing. And also on top of that, you have Freeman, Denver's rookie running back. He's pretty good, and he's going against the Raiders, and we saw that the Raiders are garbage. So I really like what you got, man, for this week.
Yeah, Devontae Freeman, he had to leave the game early last week. He should have a bounce back game. Currently listed as questionable, but he should be better this time around. I don't want to toot my own horn, but Tyreek Hill, he needed that extra oomph that Mahomes is giving him.
Yeah,
That option of the long pass wasn't there with Alex Smith, at least not as often. Now that he has that, I mean, he's a video game character.
Yeah, he is. I agree.
All right, Juju Jones. All right, well, who could he possibly start? Cam Newton seems like a no-brainer playing against Atlanta. Atlanta lost a close game. They have something to prove. Julio Jones, well, he's going to get all the burn over in Atlanta, so not worried about that. Devontae, is that his name? Devontae Adams? Forget.
Yeah, Devontae Adams.
All right, so Devontae Adams is going against Minnesota. Minnesota proved they have a very respectable defense. I mean, it's Aaron Rodgers, but the thing about receivers over in Green Bay, you never know who's going to be the stud. Aaron Rodgers likes to spread it around. Devontae Adams, for what it's worth, is listed as the number 1 guy, but he's a little bit brittle, and he's a really, really good and fast defense over in Minnesota. So I expect kind of a down game from him. Carlos Hyde, not totally sold. He's playing against New Orleans, and New Orleans team that has something to prove. Kerryon Johnson, nothing. Greg Kittle, nothing. Juju Smith-Schuster has something to prove, but Kansas City is not a slouch of a team. I don't know. I feel that although these players aren't totally bad, at the same time, the defenses that he's going to be facing are just so tough that I'm going to pick myself in this one.
Yeah, man, I'm going to go with you as well. I think your team is looking pretty good.
All right. So now let's talk about Paki's matchup. The Zeke Freaks going up against Blessum. Blessum, I guess, is a retort or a name that goes, I guess, towards the fact that it's Jarvis Landry. What the hell does it mean? I have no idea. Jarvis Landry was a Dolphins player for a really long time. You're going up against a Dolphins fan. Maybe he can explain it sometime. We actually have the capability now to have you on the show, Omar. So whenever you want, come and defend your bullshit pick and your stupid ass name. I can't have you talk about your own team. So go ahead, Paki. Tell me about Blessum and why they won't beat you.
All right, hold on. Let me pull him up. Let me pull it up right. Oh man, that was pretty funny. Wait, hold on. This stupid thing. I pulled up the wrong matchup. Hold on.
You stupid.
Bruh.
I just get nervous when I talk about myself. That's all.
The unofficial commentators. Find us on YouTube.
Yeah. All right, man. So I'm definitely picking myself to win, start off the bat. But you want me to talk about Blessum?
Yep.
Nah, man, they're not going to win. Antonio Brown is hot garbage. He's going up against Kansas City. He doesn't stand a chance. Jarvis Landry is going against probably one of the best corners in the NFL, which I have, by the way, Marcus Lattimore. I picked me on that one too. Joe Mixon, that was a lucky game that he had. No way he's going to do anything. And, of course, Ryan Tannehill, he has a small penis. So I definitely think my team is going to win this match. I'm not even going to speak about anybody else, so whatever.
I just remember that you were picking one pick ahead of me in the draft, and you took Mahomes right before I took Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
So
And that was one of my sleeper picks. I was taking a risk on him. I'm like, you know what? I went with a plan to the draft to pick late, and I was like, I'm gonna just pick whatever's left. And he was there, so I'm like, you know what? I'm taking him.
It worked out, man. He looked great at the beginning. Pittsburgh has a lot to prove this game. They only tied Cleveland, but they did not look great. Cleveland kind of put some points on the board on them. It wasn't the best showing. Now, if Cleveland was able to score on Pittsburgh, not to mention what the hell Mahomes is going to do. I mean, Mahomes, I'm really high on this kid right now. I'm really, really excited about Mahomes, the prospect, the arm, the vision, the control, the movement. It was all in play last week. And if he has more of that for Pittsburgh, it's going to be scary. But Pittsburgh's playing at home, and they're a different team. Emmanuel Sanders, for most of the game last week, I was thinking, man, I would definitely trade Demaryius Thomas for Emmanuel Sanders. Then, Demaryius Thomas scores a touchdown, and he kind of gets revindicated. Kenny Stills, I'm not crazy on, but I guess he's the best receiver in Miami right now. But, I'm not sure how they're going to get him the ball with, Ryan Tannehill's tiny penis.
I know, right? That concerns me.
Zeke Elliott. Zeke Elliott is an interesting one here. He did not look great against Carolina. A lot is being said about the offensive line. Add to that the fact that the Giants, they played pretty good on defense. They're going to get after it. I think Olivier Vernon was out last week. He's going to come back. And it's just going to be pressure all the time. There's nothing to mention in terms of Dallas receivers. I think the Giants are going to romp in this game. But the only bright spot really for Dallas is the fact that Ezekiel is going to do his thing. So you'll get your 22 points from Zeke Elliott. Kenyon Drake, it's really hard for me to assess him as a player given the fact that the game last week had so many hiccups. It was just so start and stop. It's hard for you to really gauge. There was no rhythm there. So I'm going to have to keep my eye on him. But going up against the Jets have a really solid defense. Not the best matchup. Lamar Miller is kind of a sleeper pick that you should keep an eye on. He should be good. I mean, he gets the bulk of the workload for the Houston Texans against the Tennessee Titans that haven't really shown me much yet.
They lost Mariota, bro. That's
all those factors being considered. Is he definitely out though, Mariota?
We don't know yet, but he definitely didn't finish the other game. So
yeah, he's questionable. I think he'll be back though. Even then, they'll probably. Oh, I don't know what I'm talking about Tennessee. We're talking about Lamar Miller here. That being said, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to pick Paki's team, actually. I'm going to pick Zeke Freaks this game. I think the individual performance of these players is going to be enough to topple Blessum. You didn't mention on the Blessum side Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon is a hell of a player, man. He looked great last week. I see a lot more of that coming up. But he is facing a very solid Baltimore defense.
I did mention him, but I don't want to give credit to any of Omar's players. So I just say he was lucky last week, even though I got him in 3 other leagues. I don't mean that, though. But, yeah, there's no way Omar's going to beat me.
All right, and we're going to wrap up these rivalry weeks. Oh, I can't even talk today. Rivalry. Sal ese cuerpo, Guicaldi. It's the motherfucking friend zone playing against the big blue legendaros. Well, we usually save the best rivalry for last. This one has been brewing under the surface for some time. Former lovers make the best rivals. So we have Joel Reyes going up against Daryl, the Big Blue Legendaros. Do you think the Big Blue Legendaros have a chance, and why?
The blue. Honestly, man, I really like the fact that I'm big on Odell Beckham. I mean, when Odell Beckham can still put up the numbers he put up last week, besides the fact that Eli Manning is the garbage quarterback that's throwing him the passes, that tells me Odell Beckham probably had one of his worst games last week and still gave him 16 points. So I really like him.
11 catches for 111 yards. One. He's number one.
Yeah. What the only problem is everywhere else. I mean, you got Big Ben versus KC. I don't know what to expect there. Larry Fitzgerald versus the Rams. He's going to have some tough corners. I saw that myself yesterday with the Rams. Jordan Howard, unless he gets goal line touches, I don't think he's going to give you those big plays.
What do you think about Big Ben? You think that this is just Darryl trolling us? Like, I wouldn't start Big Ben. I don't think I'd start him for the rest of the year. I don't think if we're a 14-team league and every team has to start a quarterback, I don't think he's top 15 where he has to be on somebody's starting roster every week.
I honestly think he should start Kirk Cousins. I mean, Daryl's kind of an old school, so he probably doesn't want to accept Kirk Cousins is actually a pretty decent fantasy quarterback.
And he
He
has
had
a
a
better
great week,
matchup.
and he has a better matchup, right? But so we don't know. But assuming he goes with Kirk Cousins or Big Ben. I mean, everywhere else there's a lot of gaps. I mean, David Johnson Jr. starting. I mean, he's like the third running back in Cleveland's
That's
back.
Duke Johnson.
Yeah, Duke Johnson. I'm sorry.
You started him against
So
me last week. I didn't agree with that. That probably lost you a lot of points that you could have made up. I'm not sure you had anyone on the bench that could have done any better, but Duke
yeah,
Johnson
so
is your starter? I don't know.
yeah, nothing against the Big Blue Legend Darrells. It's just a team with such weak running backs. Kind of like it's hard for me to pick him. I'm not saying he's going to win. My personal logic. I'm a running back guy when it comes to fantasy, and he's definitely losing this running back matchup. So I can't go with Darrell. I'm sorry, Darrell. And by the way, Eli Manning is hot garbage,
Oh, come
and
on.
so was Derek Carr. So
Oh, my goodness.
I'm letting him know I'm not being a hater. I'm not being unbiased. Derek Carr was probably even worse than Eli Manning in yesterday's game. All right, so
Right.
I'm telling you straight up.
So I got to wrap this up, but before I do, let me just talk briefly about motherfucking friend zone. I don't know how you scored less than 100 points when you have such good quality fantasy players. We got Matt Ryan, Stephon Diggs, Allen Robinson II, David Johnson, Alec Collins. All of these guys have some of the best matchups that you can possibly ask for in week 2. So this should be run away with it. Stephon Diggs is going to kill Green Bay. Matt Ryan, he'll do enough to get you at least 15 fantasy points, which is, I think, in my opinion, what you're going to need. Allen Robinson, the number 1 receiver from Mr. Trubisky, should be pretty good. David Johnson has to have a better game than he did last time. He's facing probably one of the best defenses in the NFL, and they might stack against him because what the hell does Arizona have on the outside? I don't know. But David Johnson is David Johnson. He's one of the elite talents of the NFL, so he should break through. Alex Collins, just
Honestly,
time and opportunity over in Baltimore.
yeah.
It's just a matter of time before he breaks out a couple big runs and starts scoring touchdowns. That to me is kind of his Achilles heel, the fact that he doesn't score enough touchdowns even though he gets a lot of run.
Honestly, if I would have had a first overall pick in any fantasy draft, David Johnson would have been my number 1.
That's not
That's
what you
how I
said.
feel about him.
That's not what you said at the time of the draft.
No, because that was a draft lottery. I hadn't done as much homework as I did after. And after I looked into it, the Le'Veon Bell thing came out after that draft lottery. Not after the draft itself, but after we did the draft lottery video.
Right.
Right. And I was torn between Todd Gurley and David Johnson after that. Because Le'Veon Bell would have been my consensus number 1 if he would be playing. But David Johnson, to me, is going to have a bigger fantasy season.
I don't know about Le'Veon Bell, man. I was talking about this. I don't know if everyone gets my point, but I feel like not enough is said about the Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line because maybe the offensive line in Dallas is so good. But they did it last year with D'Angelo Williams when Bell was suspended. And now here comes James Conner. He gets 150 yards. That is a really good offensive line, and anyone who runs behind him is going to get fantasy points.
Especially
So
Le'Veon Bell, yeah. I'm not tooting Le'Veon Bell's horn. I'm tooting Le'Veon Bell's fantasy horn in case he would have been active. So
yeah, I really don't know what leverage he has or how much he's really truly worth in the open market. I'm curious to see what Le'Veon Bell does when he's not running behind the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yep. All right, man. I think that really pretty much wraps up all the matchups for rivalry week. Am I right?
Yeah, well, we decided to do the show on Tuesday. We were going to mention a couple of people that we should pick up on waivers. Waivers will be announced tomorrow morning. So you got any guys on the waivers that you think people should chase?
I don't want to say much. I mean, I like my team, so I was actually looking more at defensive players. I'm looking more to make some switches on the defensive side.
Yeah, I'm not using a waiver pick for defense.
Yeah, but I'm guessing somebody's going to pick up Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think Deshaun Jackson is a must pick on the waivers. I mean, he looked pretty good, and everybody forgot about him. I would still try to stash him if it's not that serious. I mean, he looked pretty serious. You know what I mean?
Right.
And Ryan Tannehill looked better than a lot of people expected as well. He was also kind of forgotten. And let me see who else we have here.
What about tight ends, man? Tight ends is a really slim position as it is, and there's a couple of hurt tight ends that are probably going to miss a large part of the year. You mentioned Lonnie Walker. You mentioned Greg Olsen. What can you do if you're a fantasy owner who has either one of those players?
I was actually looking into that. Well, first of all, I was looking to their backups, see what they're going to do. Although in Carolina, man, Greg Olson, after he went down, they didn't use the tight end as much last year. So this is rinse and repeat again. I wouldn't go crazy about Carolina's backup. In Tennessee, without Marcus Mariota, I need to see how Marcus Mariota is coming back because otherwise I'm not picking any tight end there. So it's good to Jesse James is an interesting pick at the tight end position. He could have some interesting games. And shit, there's nothing in our league is trained on fantasy tight ends. Holy shit.
We have a smart
Dude.
league, man. A lot of good people that know how to draft. So a lot of times it's going to be barren. Well, I waited a really long time to pick a tight end. I'm only carrying one, and I'll replace him when he gets hurt. So for the time being, I got Seals Jones there, and that's going to be enough for me. Well,
Yeah, man. Whoever lost the tight end in our league is fucked. Shit. There's nothing there. The tight end with the most owns is 8% with Jalen Samuels in Pittsburgh, and he's not even he's like a special team player. So
right.
fucking
So that's going to be it for the unofficial commentators this week. Watch this show. Pay attention to the next shows. We'll be talking fantasy, injury, sports, just about everything we always do. Another shout out to Gordos RD, Gordos RD in the Dominican Republic, opening up a store. Support the business that supports the fantasy. Paki, good luck this week with your youngins and your football and everything else.
Yeah, we lost, man. My fucking team lost on Saturday, but at least the 8-year-olds won and the 14-year-olds won. So my team was the only one that lost in the club. So shit.
Wonder what the trend is there.
Well, we had a game. We had a game at 8 a.m. on the road, bro, in fucking rain, and it was 60 degrees. It was not to make an excuse, but it wasn't a favorable condition there.
Well, the other team had to play in the same condition, didn't they?
But they were on the road, and they played. One played at 4 p.m. The other one played at 2 p.m. It was a lot warmer. It's not the field itself. It's just the kids were just waking up. Dude, you're making kids wake up at 5 in the morning to show up to a football game. It's tough.
Well, life is tough, kids. Learn the lesson and be better next time. All right. So that's it for the unofficial commentators. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week. Sorry, I got to run.
Peace.
Yep. Yes.
Oh, shit. I forgot the most important thing. My audio sounds like crap.